All right, all right, all right. How are we doing, everyone? Hello. Let me do a little adjustment on the camera. Woo! We are back. We are talking Scouring ERA. I'm going to shout to my Alexa. Alexa, turn the sound down. I bet she turns it up out of pure spite. Hey, how are we doing, everyone? I'm on a new microphone, so for my own peace of mind, for my own... Just put me at ease. Can you hear me? Tell me where in the world you are watching from. Tell me where in the world, what part of the comfy universe that you're watching. You joining me for tonight, talking Scouring. Hey, how are we doing? Evening, Phil Campbell, Hacks. Hello, how are you? I'm feeling cheery. I'm feeling cheerful. I'm feeling joyful. I'm feeling hopeful. This year has been a good one so far. We are 17 days in. The Scouring Challenge is something I've had on my mind for a couple of years, and it's just something that seems to have exploded. It seems to have caught people at the very right time. We've had an influx of new members on the Discord community. It is completely and utterly free to join. You can download the PDF for the Scouring Challenge. In that, it outlines what the Scouring Challenge is, times when it'll be running, the points value will be collecting to, as well as a get-together we'll have at Warhammer World. And it includes the full schedule for the entire year. And this is, again, completely and utterly free to download via our Patreon. You don't need to do any sign-ups. You don't need to give any email addresses. You go to the Scouring post page, download the PDF, and join in. And you can join our Discord community completely and utterly for free. Okay, my friends, should we crack a cold one? Oh, that feels so nice. I know it's cause, okay? It could barely be called alcohol. I bought a shed load of the stuff for a Christmas party I had here. I'm still making my way through it, okay? But should I treat you to a bit of ASMR? Okay, let's crack this open. Oh. How's your dry January going? Can you hear the playful frothing fizz of that? Ooh, as it dances across the glass? I'm not sure if I can't hear any of that, so I very much doubt that the camera's going to pick anything up either, or the audio. Okay, it's right there. Anybody else joining me for a drink tonight? Anybody else out there? Okay, Scouring. We're talking Scouring. Challenge launched last week. In this month, the challenge is to create a list, and as a bonus, each challenge has a month requirement, so each month has a challenge, rather, I should say, and then a little bonus attached to it. List this month, bonus buying something. So a little box set, buying something towards that list. So far, we've had just so many members, and tonight's video, I'll be recapping my own list. What I'll be doing, I'll be talking about the frustrations I've had trying to make a list in this edition. I felt like a boomer trying to open the PDF file. But I also want to be talking about some of the triumphs we've had in our community as well. Talking about some of the theories and the just the rabbit holes we're able to go down with this. Okay, so we have somebody in London, had some Sapporo Reserve. Oof. Well, good evening. Oh, God, that's good. Crisp, biting. We're talking some of the rabbit holes that the community is starting to uncover. Because second founding isn't the seamless transfer of power that we seem to make seem it is. It's actually quite a muddy, murky period of time where the records were either expunged, purposely obfuscated, or just flat out wrong. So that's a quite interesting thing. So list, rabbit hole discussions. We'll also be starting with a look at the previews and how they match this challenge. We're going to start off really strong, really, really strong. Let me change my camera angle. Okay, so we're going to go to this. This is what I've been doing with my day today. I've been scrolling up and down here, clicking randomly on the second founding chapters. But I don't want to start with this. I want to start here. So we had the previews last night, Games Workshop previews. First one, 2026, and it was a rather good one. No controversies whatsoever, all clean, clear fun. I didn't pay too much attention to the AOS stuff. It's just not my cup of tea, unless there's like a huge reveal. Custodians, Okay, this is a safe place. Okay, this is a safe place. You can say whatever you like. Custodes, what do you think of the redesign? What do you make of the refresh of the entire range? It doesn't feel like it's that old either, which feels a bit unusual. For the most part, I love the new designs. Well, love, perhaps that's a bit strong. I like the new redesigns. So I'm used to seeing custodians like let's see if I can bring this up. So Custodes, Art, Visions of Heresy. Okay, let's see what this creates. Okay. Right, so I'm used to seeing custodians like this. So like really long, elongated. Any better pictures of these? Yeah, long fluted helms. This is my conception of the custodian. I really didn't like the way the Guardian Spear was the last time. It had that huge chunk of gold in between. Oh, there we go. I've got some amazing images like Constantin Valdor. Who else? Custodian jet bikes. A Sodality here. Oh, that's a good. We're going to see a Laris Terminators come to think. There we go. That for me is the archetypal custodian, which I think the new designs pretty much nail in their design. Long, fluted, kind of spindly, kind of unusual looking. Really, there's something odd about them. A couple of things I don't like about the sculpts is mainly the legs. For whatever reason, the legs don't seem like they're long enough. It feels like the shin should be slightly longer. I'm not sure whether you have the same feeling as me, or if that's like the first thing that leaps out to you about this, but the legs don't feel like long enough. They feel like a little bit stumpy. I'm not sure whether this is because of the overall silhouette of the piece has just changed dramatically. So the head is a lot longer, it's a lot more fluted. I do like the redesign of that. I like the redesign of the shoulder pads as well, and like the overall silhouette, like the up. Space Marines kind of resemble like bulldogs, right? All big, thick, muscular, all concentrated around the head, ogre-like. Whereas the custodians are members of a much more refined cultivation process. I mean, they aren't surgically altered. They're reshaped by the will of the emperor. So you take prepubescent children, male and female, and it is reshaped, a custodian is reshaped in the image and the will of the emperor. So I do quite like the more elegant, refined design of them, but it's just the legs. I think for me, I go down like all this beautiful, arcane, detailed knotwork, and then the legs look rather plain and rather unfinished. Now, I am glad that the Imperial Eagles are gone. I'm glad for that, because I didn't understand how, just like the custodian themselves is a one-off piece of artwork, never to be repeated again, how every single custodian had exactly the same leg and shin guard. It didn't work for me. It didn't work for me. Okay, dude with the crest directly to his head is hilarious. Should we try and find him? This guy. This is my new champion. This dude. Just gaze upon it. I'm going to take a drink to this guy. Oh, the guard. I'm sure it's the picture, but the Guardian Spear seems a little bit warped there in the middle as well. But I much prefer these designs, like that big lump of gold in between. It never made sense to me how they can operate it, how they can use it, how they can spin it round. When you're forced to stick to like that hold. Now, bear in mind, I'm not a martial arts master. I've never held a stick in anger in my life. So I'm not sure whether holding it, the spear, is optimal doing that. I don't know. It just, in my own lizard brain, it didn't make any sense. But yeah, this guy, I did make the joke earlier on Instagram. The emperor comes from Turkey, right? He's gone for a hair transplant. Leave my man alone. He's trying to make the best of himself. Yeah, it's just those legs. They're just so plain and so unadorned. It really jars in comparison to the rest of the character. Now, I have seen a couple of conversions using the Age of Sigmar Marine, what the hell are they called? Sigmarites. I've seen some of their elite units being spliced together with custodian kits. And I think there is room for maneuver here at the very least. Like everything from the waist up, I think it's a really nice redesign to it. And I just can't wait to see this in like the hands of modelers, to see like all the non-metallic effects people are able to create, or the true metallic effects they're able to produce. Yeah, but something about those legs rankles with me. I'm not sure about you. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Can you tell me to shut my trap? I'm an idiot for thinking that the shins aren't right. Oh, should we address? Okay, I do like these as well. Very nice, very nice. Okay, these I really, again, another dude with a staple directly to his head. I do like the static image of a custodian kind of like watching, so I don't have a problem with that. I'd like to see more dynamic posing maybe later on with other kits that they produce, but for now, like that sentinel look that they have, I do not mind whatsoever. Okay, he looks rather stern. Okay, controversy of this, female custodians. Are we for? Can I do a poll? Engage with your audience. Yes, start a poll. Female custodies. Female custodies, are you having them? Yes, no. Okay, we're going to start a poll. We're going to run that for 5 minutes. Female custodians, yeah, it's been a point of contention since... I'm not really sure where I became aware of this argument. It was in Australia, I think. It was in the source book that a female custodian was mentioned. On the one hand, a female custodian has never been mentioned in the law. And there is a valid argument that you can have male stories and female stories. Okay, hear me out, that the empowering fiction of, and it can apply to both genders, it can absolutely apply, but the empowering myth of resilience is an underlying theme of this universe. No matter what pressures, no matter what nightmarish foes that are before you, you have the tools and the ability to overcome them if you only endure. I wouldn't say that is solely a male or female story, but I guess having safe spaces stories, that's another issue, that's another talking point in general. Space Marines have canonically, throughout, I think one of their first mentions, always been male children developed into Space Marines. That's very hard and fast. From what I've seen of textual evidence of custodians being female, it hasn't been explicitly stated that they need to be raised from male children. Now, there's certainly been elements where they've taken the sons of all the high lords of terror, the dignitaries, the functionaries of terror. There's mentions of that, but I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you point this out to any kind of source evidence, brilliant. But I don't think it's been explicitly stated. And you have to bear in mind the custodian goes through a much more rarefied movement from adolescence into essentially a vessel, an empty vessel for imperial will. You're empties as a person, you're reconstructed by this alien will, overly dominant will. They no longer possess independent thought. They're just reflections of one single anima. I don't think that needs exclusively to be towards males. I don't think there's anything in context with the law, canonically, in with this, I guess, like internal logic of this universe that excludes women from becoming custodians. That I've seen, that I've read. But I certainly don't want to disparage counter arguments to it. I mean, that's partly why I run these things, to engage in a conversation with this kind of thing. So if you have a counter argument to this, if you have a point of view, please express it respectfully, but funnily below in the comments. So that's my penny's worth on custodians and females. I do, the one part of umbrage I do have with female custodians is that the head sculpts aren't very good. Do we have one? This I like. I really, really like this. But we don't have any examples. Like a good female sculpt, like this is a really nice, good female sculpted head. Really, really like that. Yeah, don't have a problem at all with that. We have a complete redesign and refresh, like everything. Like, thank God this thing is going into plastic. Just thank the Lord, because the amount of times I've come to add a marbling technique on the red and just strip a layer of paint from that resin. I'm still reliving it. It's going through here. Okay, no trigger. Okay, let's read some of the comments that we have on this. Agree with the new look. So Phil J. Barnes, agree with the new look. The old ones looked a bit too squat for me. Yeah, overall, like the proportion, says Reels Nice. Missed the Custodes icons on them. Yeah, on the legs, I'm glad they're gone personally. The legs are missing from the bulk of the past. Hacks, I have 6 tanks from the last year's challenge. Yeah, I still have an entire army to do from the last year's challenge. Let's just put 2025 behind us. It's done, it's over with. Let's move on as a community to bigger and better things. Let's move on to the scouring. Shields are a huge improvement. Yeah, I do agree. Okay, Armin Paz. I want to know what the sculptor was thinking when they did that. I don't know whether this was a thing till a preview yesterday. There are no triggers on the staffs. I believe they're at the top. Oh no, you're right. There are no triggers on the staff. Perhaps like a pressure activated. Still, I prefer the design of these. I mean, and it reminds me, there's a Death Watch commander with a custodian spear. That was pretty much exactly like this. I did like the design then, but that did come with the trigger. Okay, RTRTY, it reads like a Wi-Fi password. I've just built and painted 2,000 points of Custodes with the intention of selling them. So I'm very much against these Custodes. I feel your pain. I feel your heartbreak with it right there. Oh, real nice. Why people care more about this than any other retcon is concerned in part. There could be some underlying issues. The last thing I want to do is sort of like discredit it as a blanket statement, because I think these conversations need to be had. You need to understand both sides of the argument, and you can't just browbeat or scream at your the opposite point of view, because I mean, look at the way the world is. This is how we've ended up in this mess. We need to respectfully engage in the dialogue about these plastic miniatures, whether they can be male or female. I think we're doing pretty well here. We're healing with Cause Light above all. Sponsored tonight by Cause Light. The reason I always saw Custodes and Marines as being exclusively a single gender. Okay, James Mackin, brilliant. Okay, part of the Emperor's purpose for them. They are tools to put in humanity in the right path, not something to replace it. Okay, great. And you know what? There is something to be said about representation as well. We've always seen custodians as male. They've always been represented up until very recently as male. We haven't had any mentions of female Custodes that I can remember. I mean, Rogue Trader, that just seems like a fever dream of an edition. There might have been an offhand mention, but nothing I could recall off the top of my head. But I mean, if you've always had this image of a male custodian, I mean, especially with like the leather straps on them, like the oiled up ab dudes. Yeah, where's the female artwork for that? Yeah, it's easy to see them as male exclusively. And, you know, that's a genuine counterpoint. And that's not something that, you know, should be browbeaten, or you shouldn't be called names for having that opinion. Okay, isn't the bolt of the Custodes staff activated by mind input? Maybe. Hacks. I think everyone should take the lore from Warhammer and adapt it to the narrative they want it to be. Yes, it's a role-playing game. It comes from role-playing roots. And maybe with the over-commercialization and the, in my opinion, over-reliance on the direction of Warhammer 40k, of it being exclusively marketed towards a tournament bias lean. I mean, I understand it's very popular in the US, and you know, a commentator on our Discord did say that he has so few opportunities for games. There's no kind of shared language between players. So you turn up for a game, you've never met this guy before, you've traveled 3 hours. It's useful to have something to hang your hat on, to have a tournament framework that you can agree on. We can use that as the shared basis for this game. I can completely understand that. But it does feel increasingly we are moving away from its role-playing aspect, its role-playing roots. And when you engage in a role-playing game, you're not, or whenever you read a piece of fiction, you aren't trying to win at reading fiction. You aren't trying to win the story. You're trying to tell as interesting a story as possible. Now this proselytizing comes from somebody who's played 2 games in 2025. So okay, perhaps I'm not the voice of reason here. Perhaps I'm the voice of idiocy. But the best games and the games I've enjoyed, the games that I've stuck with, haven't been necessarily about creating the most meta-inspiring list. It's been about thinking about the context of the conflict and trying to drive that narrative with our choices, both in-game, in army selection. You know, even if you have to fudge a few rules as well to get a better result, that's how I enjoy playing the game. But again, this comes again from somebody who's played 2 games in 2025. Okay, let's go back to the views. Okay, the Custodian were male and the Sisters of Silence were female, worked as a unit, each to its own skill set. Okay, so you've got like the Masonic, I think, philosophy of male and female commingled, co-joined to create a stronger whole. So they complement each other. The yin and the yang. Yeah, okay, sure. And you know, in the Sisters of Silence, we don't see male gnolls, but male gnolls exist. We've seen Warhammer animation, the Tithes, where female custodian is paired with a female Sister of Silence. Now, the custodian being female didn't negate the powers of the female Sister of Silence. They still worked in unison with one another. So I guess my counterpoint to that would be it's not gender reliant on those 2 organizations working in concert with each other. Right, okay, hacks. I don't like Primaris. Yeah, fuck Primaris. All the Primarchs returning in the lore, so I wish it didn't exist. I'm with you with that. I don't see the reason why you need... You have a Space Marine that is the pinnacle of warfare, like the most unbelievable killer machine that the universe has produced. What's the advantage in making that apex predator slightly faster, slightly stronger? There's none. Space Marines were already the apex. They were already unchallenged, you know, to a certain degree, to a certain lore aspect. I'm sure Elder players would disagree with that. If they just wanted to like rescale everything, true scale everything, that would have been great. And we are hearing encouraging rumors coming back to us, thankfully, that this new edition, 11th edition, is coming around. It seems to be styled on 2nd edition or the battle for Blackreach. Marines versus Orcs. We are hearing, I'm repeating everything from Valrak here. We are hearing that the box art will be Blood Angels versus Orcs. I'm really hoping, and it's returning to Armageddon as well. Now, wouldn't it be, okay, dream with me just for a little bit here. Okay, take a sip. Let's cool things down. It's so refreshing. You have, as the front cover, the lead miniature, the captain of your Space Marine force, the John Blanche front cover of 2nd edition, that Marine blasting into a sea of Orcs below him. You have 2 units of 10 Marines with that commander, and then you have the Orcs alongside them. Something styled on 2nd edition. And we're even hearing that they're losing the nomenclature of Primaris from units. Again, all rumors. Rumors are nonsense. Rumors are lies until they're confirmed. But, I mean, the Space Marine redesign, the Space Wolf redesign, those new Terminators, they look so good just with a different style, a different proportionality to them. The Blood Claws, the Grey Hunters, when you're starting to see classic armor marks being mixed in with the Primaris, the rescale really works. I love the scale of Primaris. I don't necessarily love the lore behind them, and some of the design choices on them I don't particularly like or enjoy painting. But as far as like rescaling, love. And there's even talk of them retracking some of the vehicles as well, like a redesign of the Rhino, the humble Rhino, which again, part of the reason why I'm in this hobby is nostalgia, right? Why are you in the hobby? Are you in this hobby for nostalgia? Maybe, maybe not, I don't know. What kind of trauma has led you into this cycle of joining me on a Saturday evening to argue about female custodians? But part of the reason why I'm in this hobby is nostalgia, right? And it's fun reliving these aspects of my childhood and having these miniatures as good as I remember them being. Because it's very important to keep that in mind, that the miniatures I bought back in the day, you compare them to, like, objectively, okay, I can admit this. A Primaris Marine today, just a bog standard intercessor, is a much better quality product than the classic Space Marine that came in the second edition box set. Put your feelings aside, your love aside. I love that box set. I love that box set more than Primaris. I love that box set more than Primaris, but objectively speaking, it is a much better end product. It's a much better engineered miniature, better outcome. Well, if we have that same, like the technology of today, to go back to that box set and make it as good as we all remember. Should we have a look at okay, 57% no. No to custodians. Okay, we're going to end this poll right here. Well, I mean, it's closer than I thought, but yeah. People are not a fan of female custodians, and I'm wondering whether that's going to change over time. Okay, let's have Jesus Christ, there's a lot of comments flying in here. Right, okay. Whoa, okay, real nice. The Scouring book, an animation in 2024, but yeah, it's a retcon. But getting mad about it is silly, even if it's not preference for retcon. What is the definition of a retcon? Because that goes back and changes history. Has it ever been explicitly stated that custodians could be male only? If that's the case, it would be a retcon. I don't think it. I don't mean to get a rules lawyery on you here, but I mean this is the English degree coming out, and I guess my argumentative nature. It was a brotherhood prior to the latest codex, which added one in. Okay, like it's explicitly stated as a brotherhood of custodians. Okay. I think it's fine for custodians to be in both genders, being a few and bespoke. It would be super weird to retcon Space. Yeah, it would rub me up the wrong way having female Space Marines because it's so explicitly stated. And I think it's worth stating here that this universe isn't aspirational. This isn't how we want the universe to be. This isn't how we think society should function. In part, it is a satire. It's having a wry, sideways look at the future as if everything's gone wrong, as if Thatcherism was rampant. This is the worst possible outcome of every single decision we can make as a species. We've ended up at this end point, 1 minute to midnight, before the extinction event. So having aspirational goals that we want reflected in our society doesn't necessarily translate cleanly into this universe. This is a backward-looking universe. This is a universe mired in its own suspicions, in its own ghosts. It's trapped by the ghosts of its own past, unable to grow, unable to learn, unable to even question itself anymore because the very act of questioning itself is punishable by death. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of female Space Marines. There's nothing wrong with stories of brotherhood and sisterhood, absolutely. But once you add females or males to a brotherhood or sisterhood, they cease to be such stories. I have to mull that one over. Because what's the story of the custodians? Very male-driven. They are protective in nature. And if you want to like boil down the essence of okay, if we want to go down this path, male stories, female stories, male hunt, protect, front forward aggressive. I'm talking in very big generalities here, but you could boil the essences down. Whereas Female stories could be tied up with motherhood, protective nature. Like the role of a custodian is protective and by its very nature, domestic in nature, because you are protecting a creature. So I guess if you want to talk about stories of brotherhood and sisterhood, aren't we crossing the lines anyway by having an overly aggressive brotherhood of custodians? Again, like that's why it's important to have these kind of conversations, to like mull these ideas over and toss them over and well, examine your own biases and examine your own statements as well. Okay. James Macken, the reason I always saw custodians and Marines being exclusively single, oh, we've done that. Isn't the bolt of the custodians a minding? Okay, we've done all that. Right, the law of nulls. Where the law of nulls makes sisters a bit more obviously female. But yeah, I've always thought that. So I think people are going after the wrong aspect of the law here, especially if you want to like dig into Games Workshop, or if you want to attack them explicitly. The voicelessness of women, females in society. It's a huge underlying theme throughout literature, expressed in many different ways and really artfully done in Saturnine. I'm rereading Saturnine at the moment. The voicelessness and powerlessness of women, underscored by Janisha Kroll, who is very obviously voiceless. Sisters of Silence, very obviously voiceless. It's very problematic having this like Ubermensch charged 10-foot tall gold-clad figure with his female army of retainers. A lot of tyrants tend to end up with that trope going on. Again, this universe isn't aspirational. This isn't how we want the universe to be. We should look at this and say, right, let's go the opposite direction. I like playing both ways. Yeah, me too. I have armies for competitive and narrative play. Yeah, again, like I'm very aware, like I am nowhere near an authority to talk to you about how you should play your games and how you should enjoy yourself. No, absolutely not. I'm airing my opinion on this. Okay, I don't like the legs in the custodians. Yeah, I don't like the legs either. I thought the law had a difference between male and female nulls, but can't seem to find the source. I seem to remember in the first Assassin Codex that there was explicit mention that the null assassin whether the null assassin temple had male and female contributors. I mean, even the model sculpt is male. And Calexis as well. So if you want Misters of Battle, if you want male Calexis, again, in that codex, it is mentioned that male and female, it's far more common for polymorphine to work on a female, but there are male and female Calexis. Is it Calexis? The polymorphine assassins. They're male and female. Right, okay. Call isn't real. We need to get a beer, I think. Call can't hurt us. Primaris is only psychic for the Imperial Guard. Repeat this mantra. Yes, they refer to a brotherhood of the 10,000. Okay. Are you going to use Mark 7 Marines for the Scouring project? Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to mix it together. Thank you so much. I feel like it's a good place to move on the conversation. Agree to remove female custodies if we can remove Tau in every post-second edition change. None of that was in the law. Okay, so obviously it was wrong. So much of this law has been changed over the decades. Yeah, I can imagine like all this accumulated law, like calling the custodians a brotherhood. Okay. Was that really a well thought out? Okay, like I'm very much engaging in linguistic revisionism here. This is very much a conversational ploy I'm doing right here, but just let me play it out. I know this, you know this. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I'm not trying to say this is the right opinion. I'm just turning and mulling this idea over, okay? So this guy, I assume it's a guy, writing the law, like a brotherhood. Did they think that deeply about the implications of that phrase, that this maybe throwaway phrase that they'd have would echo so profoundly in the year 2026? Okay, that was very much a conversational gambit. Okay, I know that was a tricky, sneaky thing. The to do that, but it's just mull it over, because then you can apply that to anything, and it invalidates anything that they say, and it's a very slippery way to argue a point. But yeah, I mean, things change, things evolve. A lot of this stuff is just a cocaine-fueled fever dream made up in a curry house in Nottingham one evening. So wouldn't it be cool if? It was as deep as that when it was originally written, and it's somehow become like this multi-billion-pound industry that is fast becoming one of the pillars of the British economy. We aren't doing well, guys. Okay, right. I think that's a good place to explore the scouring. This is the project we have for this year, and we're gonna start off strong with this. I'm gonna start with a banging visual for you guys. Okay, so I have been on the Abominable Intelligence. I've burned down a couple of rainforests to bring you these images. Let's go there. Before we do that, oh, I've spoiled it. I've spoiled the reveal. I was going to build up to that. But I want to have a look at the Reaver clans, because these miniatures are just freaking gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I like the practical nature of it. I just like some of the batshit crazy stuff that's in them. Like, okay, what is the practical use of a Space Marine having gloves on top of his gloves? And to further compound that point, what is the practical advantage, or what is this thing I'm looking at of a ring on top of Astartes armor? That must be like the size of like a bangle that you put around your wrist. That thing is huge. Was it specially made for it? Like, that ring generates a lot more questions to me. And to combine the two, when we look at this Marine, where is he? I did see a Marine with gloves and rings. Do we have it here? Oh, I can't find him to prove my thesis. Damn, I was building up to that. Rings on the... Oh, there he is. There he is. So not only is he wearing rings, he's wearing a glove. He's got the full fashion suite. Severed hands, tasteful loincloth. He's got the lot. The amount of armies this is going to spawn, already in our Discord community, the Scouring era is very much weighted towards loyalists, because when you think of Scouring, they primarily take center stage. The Heresy was I'm going to reuse the words. The Heresy was a stage in which the traitor legions changed. It was the crucible upon which they were formed, changed, perverted. The Loyalists didn't have that luxury. They were ambushed, and their change seems to be happening in this era, in the Scouring. So no spoilers in this, but in Ashes of the Imperium by Chris Wright, you're starting to see some of the malignancy, the fallout, the expression of trauma play out from the Loyalist Primarchs, and you're starting to see the seeds of the destruction that will be. You're starting to see elements of the decision-making that will lead up to things like the Iron Cage, the sundering of the legions, the mistakes that the Primarchs will make because they are fundamentally damaged by this war they participated in, whether they were present at Terra or not. They are a sundered brotherhood. And I use that term with all full seriousness, and I know why I'm saying that, brother. I'm not cocained up. I'm the drink. It's a brotherhood. It's a brotherhood they're engaging in. What was my point? I completely lost that. I was so pleased with myself building up to that and using that phrase. But mentally, I did that. I took a sip of beer mentally, and I've completely lost the thread of my point. But you asked, and that's the Primarchs, like these huge, towering, robust figures. And this only has a trickle-down effect. There's appearances from like Sigismund and a couple of Salamander characters in there, Blood Angel characters who are well, things aren't going well for them. Even though they won, things aren't going well for them. But yeah, it's very heavily weighted in terms of like loyalists. So we've had a lot of loyalist signups for this. We have seen at least 3 on the Discord community pledge themselves to retreating Sons of Horus. So I love this period of time because of the questions it brings to us. Was Abaddon... Okay, to start with, the Sons of Horus have just been shattered. They've lost their father. Who's the center of command? Abaddon? Where the fuck is Abaddon? He's gone with the Vengeful Spirit. He's split. For all we know, he's on the other side of the galaxy. Cults of personality start to coalesce around strong commanders. Now, would their first thought be, let's dive headlong into the Eye of Terror, where we cannot escape? Shall we go into this warp anomaly? No. There's a period of history here, and it's changed. Okay, this is another piece of lore that's changed. So originally, the Scouring took around 7 years, 7 to 10 years. The Heresy originally took around 7 to 10 years. I think it's been over 12 years now, a 12-year period. The Scouring has changed from a 7-year period to a 100 to 150-year period. This might change again. It could go longer. Who knows? But in this period of time, it's a huge time of flux here. So you have about 100, 150 years where the legions spread out, trying to grab the traitors. And the traitors, they have a whole dark empire behind them. They have all these supply lines. Horus run a masterful campaign to get to Terra, to cut off supply lines, to choke and box in the Emperor here. So there are vast swathes of the galaxy that are very heavily held firmly by the traitor forces. In terms of like manpower, resources, supply lines, the Imperium isn't in a great place. It's a lot more vulnerable than we may appreciate. But there's one incontrovertible fact. There's one huge, glaring, philosophical, structural truth that you can hang your hat on. The Emperor's alive, maybe. I mean, I know the dead Emperor theory. But in terms of like imperial propaganda, the Emperor's alive, Horus is dead. And by that very simple binary truth, the traitors are in retreat. So you've got entrepreneurs like Perturabo, who's setting up his own thing. Oh God, Ashes of Empire of the Imperium is such a good book because nobody learns any fucking lessons. They're all doomed to make the same mistakes for eternity. It's a brilliant book. You got to read it. But you know, Perturabo sets up his own thing at the Empire of Iron that was eventually dug out by the Iron Cage incident. You got Fulgrim, who's flirting around. I mean, he makes an appearance. He kills Gilliman, or like wounds him unto death. But you got to think, like, what happens to the Sons of Horus in this time? There's very little lore. Where we pick up the story of the Sons of Horus is at Malium, over the dead body, where the Sons of Horus have enshrined the Primarch. And of course, they dug out by the Emperor's children and hunted into extinction. But what happens to them in this period of time, 100 to 150 years, where they're in full-blown retreat? Are they trying to set up their own empire? Are they trying to negotiate with other traitor legions? What's happening in this period of time? I mean, what for you do you think is the biggest mystery of this time? What is the most enduring period of this time? It's just a fascinating period of history for me. I love that we get to explore this and what I hope is a far more structured approach to the Scouring era. And, you know, as modelers, it kind of loosens us up a little bit because we don't have to stringently stick to Mark 2 through to 6 / there's a little bit of 7 at the end of the Heresy, but you don't need to stick to those marks of armor. And you don't need to stick, okay, so if a Marine has Mark 6 armor, keep it all Mark 6. You can mix it now. Because like we say, supply lines are run amok. Nobody knows who to pay up to in the pyramid. It's a mess. It's chaos. It's constant chaos and a mess and ruins and everything is leveled. Everything is shit. So if your Marine can scavenge a Mark II armor plate to keep his going for another day longer, he's going to do it. It presents us a lot more modeling opportunities, perfectly epitomized by the Red Corsairs. We have a few mixes of armor here. And what's really encouraging to see, so there's one, I think it's the Lord, has who has Mark IV armor on here? There's a Marine I saw earlier with Mark IV armor. Ah, there we go, Mark IV armor, the chest plate. I mean, the file exists out there, and we are starting to see rumors that this year for the Heresy, Mark IV could be coming. We're starting to hear those rumors. Like Games Workshop love feeding out little teasers like this. It wouldn't surprise me if we see a lot of Mark IV Iron Warriors in this next round of releases. I know they famously Mark III, Mark II, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Mark IV being introduced here. So that's like a little nod to the future. I mean, these perfectly epitomize raiding forces and piratical. Holy shit, I've just noticed we've got a lot of viewers on. Hello, everyone. Hey, how are you all doing? If you're watching live for the first time, put down where you're watching from. It's always nice and encouraging to see like all the parts of the world you're watching from. Yeah, it's just really, really cool to see these mixes of armor on the same plate. And it works really well. Do you want to see what I burned down a rainforest for? Hold on, let's read a few comments. Only question should be asked when the Custodian Guard were first released. Would there have been female Custodian Guard? It was yes, absolutely. I know exactly what you're doing with that. Yes, absolutely, female Custodian. ADB wanted female Custodians to begin with. Yeah, a playable faction. Okay, 100% agree, except who runs Gromit head? Yeah, I really don't like his head. Spain. Hola. Hola. I do hope Huron challenges Abaddon. I don't think that would end well for Huron. Okay, do you want to see what I've burned the forest for? I took these images, chucked them into ChatGPT, because so many people are doing Sons of Horus inspired Scouring era armies, the retreat from Terra. Let's have a look at it, shall we? Boom! That's the first one. Now you've got to bear in mind this is ChatGPT. This isn't about details, this is about broad strokes. This gives us an idea of what these Marines could look like with a Sons of Horus scheme applied to them. So for the first part, the armor is significantly darker than especially the early era Sons of Horus. And part of the pleasure of painting a Sons of Horus force is deciding where in the timeline do you want to set them. Because we all know the only surviving figurehead, the most prominent surviving figurehead of the Sons of Horus, Abaddon, he founds the Black Legion. And whatever Legionnaire he can scoop up, he will indoctrinate, he will put into the Black Legion. So the darker the armor, the closer you are to the Black Legion, the closer you are to that end state and the final fracturing and sundering of the Sons of Horus as a legion. But I found that quite interesting, that the armor is significantly darker, highlighted with a slight hint of blue to it. And weirdly, the edges of the armor have kind of been weathered with a gold almost. So that was a really interesting color choice made by ChatGPT. I have to say, like, I love like the tattoo designs, like the designs of the Reavers. It's very Lost the Mohicans. Okay, what have we got next? Boom! Look how good. Now, ChatGPT did mess this up a little bit, and he did give him a vape. Yeah. Right, I'm gonna put another poll on here. Is there a question I can ask? Because I start a poll, start a Q&A. Okay. Which chapter Legion would you like to see a tutorial for first? Because part of the pleasure of this challenge is that I get to do this. Coming up on the Patreon, I will be going through any prominent second founding / awesome color scheme that I see. I'll be producing a full tutorial for them. For this challenge, I will be collecting the flesh tearers, but I'm going to leave it up to you, the community. You are going to tell me which chapter you would like to see done first. Let's go to the live chat, and you can tell me, and whatever one you choose tonight, I will produce the first one. So we've got Black Templars, Crimson Fists, we've got Carcharodons, Scythe of the Emperor, which I want to talk about a little bit later because technically they're third founding, but there's a little bit discrepancy there. Executioners, the same kind of like muddy water deal there. Got the Praetors of Orpheus. We've got a lot of cool second founding chapters we can look at. That's completely up to you to look at. Should I have a look at another version? Boom! Like, I love the totemic mirror coins that they've put on here. I mean, that just looks quintessential. That could be a Horus Heresy. Oh, I've spoken too soon. There's probably one mark of armor on here that doesn't work on it. But I mean, that looks very Heresy-esque to me. And to represent later era Sons of Horus, just before they dive off the deep end and start putting like Chaos Stars all over themselves, I think that works great. That's my favorite image that was produced. What do you think of it? Is this inspiring you to do a Sons of Horus Force? The Reaver Lord is a little bit weak. It just changed the armor, and it kind of messed up the Eye of Horus symbol. But this is my favorite from it. Yeah, absolutely love that. Has the Scouring ERA challenge kind of tickled you in the right way? Has it stroked you? Has it whispered lovingly in your ear? You could again, completely for free. You could join up. Free PDF on the Patreon. It's hosted there. Don't need to sign up. Don't need to give me your email. Just dive straight in. Read the full year's worth of scheduling. You don't have to reply anything to it, but you could join in the Discord. It's fun getting involved with the other community members. I've just had a little sneaky look at the time. I think we'll have to park our discussion of the second founding chapters until our next live stream. This has been fucking spectacular, guys. Thank you so much for interacting and talking through, not shouting at each other. I want to really thank you for that, because I've worked really hard to produce a really nice, respectful community where we can all bond over our love of plastic miniatures. So instead of seeing what divisions, oh god, okay, the cause is going to my head. What divides us? We don't see it anymore. We can just enjoy these little miniatures. But I do want to round off this live stream. I do want to round this off by talking through my flesh tearers list, because this is what I'm doing in this challenge. I'm taking the dive into flesh tearers. I'm known as the Blood Angel guy because I painted Blood Angel well over a decade ago now, and it does. I've been going through my old bits box of Blood. Hold on, I'll show you this. I got this guy. Let me bring him up. Okay, yeah, I got this dude. This was meant to be part of my original Blood Angel army, and I got so far, I didn't finish it off, but this is definitely like a remnant of that. I've been asset stripping all of the old miniatures and old bits and pieces that I have. It's been a little bit sad. Cause is getting to me again. But Flesh Tearers, new dynamic front forward aggressive army, partly inspired by the 3rd edition Warhammer 40k 3rd edition armies I saw at the time. There's one in particular. It was a tournament list. It was written up in White Dwarf. There were 2 tournament lists. One managed to come first at this tournament, running Blood Angels. I think it was the new codex at the time. And the guy who wrote the article, he said he wanted to paint each unit as an individual. Fucking bullshit. You notice all the basing is different as well. This guy just read the rules and he took the most meta-busting shit he could. Fuck that guy. But looking back on it now, I guess I could see you, guy from nearly 40 years ago, I'm getting in an argument with now. But on the flip side of that was the open tournament. And this guy had a Flesh Tearer army, 2 units of assault marines led by a chaplain. I think he had a librarian, a couple of tactical marines. It was a coherent force, cohesive force. It was a narrative force. And the joy that just poured out of that article. I'll never forget it. And partly it's inspired by that. But I haven't really made lists for this edition of the Heresy, so I was a little bit worried how to do it. Like, I don't really know how to do it. So I was recommended this app called New Recruit. It's free to download. Knocked it open, and it's relatively simple once you argue with it for a couple of hours. Once you get a handle of how the programmers have put the way lists can be built. Okay, so this challenge calls on you to produce 1,500 points by December. It is a small, manageable number, but I guess the ethos of this challenge is to produce a very high quality end result. So on the Discord, I'm encouraging people to post up work in progress pictures. Then myself and the community members can talk through what you can improve, what you can look to push on that extra level. Because it's surprising, like most people will make just the same mistakes over and over again. It's just human nature, and it's very easy to kind of like course correct these things, like a pointer here and there. As long as you're open to the feedback. And again, it's never criticism, it's only ever encouraging feedback. So if you're looking to like elevate the way you mass produce armies, this might be the challenge for you. It's a small enough cost. And at the end of the year, I'm hoping to have a get together at Warhammer World. But if you do participate in this challenge and you just simply can't make it, you're from Spain, or España. See, I did the bits, you know I'm cultured. So if you're from Spain or Australia and you can't make it, every person who completes this challenge by December, you need to post something up every single month. You need to keep in contact. You do need to hit these challenges. At the end of that, you will get a lodge coin that has been sculpted specifically for this challenge. As a little thank you for participating. But the real gift is the friends you make along. No, it's not. It's the stuff you can get. My army, led by Amit. And at this stage, he has this huge hulking Terminator armor with these huge barrel gun power fists that shoot bolters out of them, and they have chains on them. And it's every 10-year-old power fantasy mixed up into one psychotic madman. So Praetor and power, and this is represented by 165-point Praetor and Terminator armor with a chain fist. So this is drawn from the Black Shield list. I decided for the oaths of the moment for this army, for Flesh Tearers, it should be Reapers of Lives. So you score victory points on enemy units you destroy. Seems very fitting for the vengeful nature of the of the Flesh Tearers of this time, who are just so incensed by the death of Sanguinius. They're lashing out at everyone and everything. They just want to destroy. And then the Broken Helix, which gives modifiers, some negative modifiers to stats like willpower and intelligence, but does give them a buff for strength, I believe. Anything else? I think it's just strength that gives them. It's to represent their degradation as a fighting force. The chapters lose so much by not being organized as a Legion force and not having access to the kind of training and the veteran personnel of a Legion to instruct you. These are just vengeful, crazed madmen. And I wanted to represent the degradation of a Legion structure to a chapter structure by drawing exclusively from Black Shields and kind of like retrofitting them to Blood Angels. Okay, a Librarian with a jump pack. I just love the idea of Blood Angels and Librarians as if the Librarian is trying to funnel the accumulated sorrow and angst and trauma of these Blood Angels, trying to do what he can to alleviate their suffering and direct them in the right path. But that could very easily change to a chaplain later on, because I found one of my favorite chaplain sculpts, and he can wear a jetpack, so it might be changing to that. That Librarian is armed with a jump pack and a force axe, of course. We have 10 despoilers, and we have 10 tacticals. So part of this challenge is no doubles. No doubles. So you can take a despoiler squad, you can take a tactical squad in a Rhino each, but you can't then take another tactical squad in a Rhino. You could take like a tactical squad on foot, but nothing could be duplicated across the list like that. So you can't take multiple librarians, multiple chaplains, for example, multiple despoiler squads. Again, these rules, they're only a guideline. Feel free to break them if it gets in the way of your own hobby. It's just a loose set of structures to theme the army in the Scouring rather than in the Heresy War in 40k. Oh, shoot, I've lost my list. Where was I? Flesh Tearers. Oh, I deleted that list. Oh, God, that'd be embarrassing. No. We also have 4 Terminators in Tartaros armor. I'll be using the Indomitus Terminators because they look amazing and it's era appropriate now. But I'm running those as Tartaros Terminators. All equipped with Lightning Claws, Chain Fists. Lightning Claws and Chain Fists. Quite tasty combination with Aberrant that gives them a plus to their strength. They are carried in the Land Raider. And of course, they are escorting Amit into whatever atrocity he's going to commit next. Then the list is rounded off with 9 veteran assault marines with chain axes. So I like the idea of these guys being proto-death company. And there's a way to represent them doing that without being completely overwhelmed. Okay, so that's my list. We've had a lot more cool lists submitted into the Discord, but we've run out of time. Friends, my God, what a great stream that was. Thank you all so much for joining me. That was the most pleasurable live stream I've ever been on. And I was a bit worried just talking to you rather than showing you something. But I'm going to finish off my drink. I'm going to say salute. I'm going to say hola. How do you, what's good, like a nice friendly good, like salute? Is it salute? Goodbye, friend, when you drink in Spanish? My friends, thank you very much. I hope you'll join me for next week's live stream, where I intend to look at some of the rabbit holes, some of the mysteries, some of these huge swathes of history that have simply been torn out of the book. Okay, I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.